Tell me a little bit about the fight. Talk about fish on and
Well,
what was the feeling? Just walk me through all that kind of stuff.
when we hooked the fish, and naturally had it on a 130 International. That's the biggest pen. Push lever drag, a good state of the art reel, and it was on a Saber rod, which they don't. That company is no longer in existence. But we hooked the fish, and that fish just took off. And it's like you don't put the brakes on, a fish of that size. And so Frank was running the boat, and we cat and mouse the fish for a while, and it we weren't in that deep of water where he could sound, a mile and just run the line off us. So we always had line on the reel, and about an hour and a half into fighting the fish, cat and mouse, he decided, all right, I had enough of this. And he came up and started charging the boat. And I can remember, like, looking straight back. And here's the fish on the top swimming right at us, hard as he could. And now Frank's not backing up chasing him, he's going ahead. And I put my head down and I was just cranking as fast as I could, and I'm like, oh, I don't feel him, he's going, and they were like, keep going. The fish came right at the stern and turned off at the last second. He didn't smash right into the boat, but he turned off, and then we kind of put the brakes on him, and he was behind the boat, I'd say about 30 yards, and he come up out of the water, and he was clamping his mouth open and closed, and I was like looking, and my fishing line's going up instead of down into the water because the fish was so big. And he eventually he started doing a roll, and that's what sharks like, similar to like alligators. They'll get you in that roll, and he started rolling, and the fishing line, the leader, was rolling around him, and so we were getting closer to him, and Frank backed up, and we knew we were going to have one shot at him, and everybody made the right moves. We got right close enough to him. He was right at the back of the boat, and we got him. Frank had a good game plan. He called it a reverse tail rope. We put a rope around his head, and this is after we got a couple of gaffs in him. I remember once one gaff went into him, I knew this was going to be take him or break him. I got up and out of the fighting chair I was in, and got another gaff into him. Frank and a crew member got a head rope on him. Then we got a tail rope on him, and like the fish, we would just like shake his head or his tail, and he was breaking like 3/4 inch, half-inch rope like it was nothing. But we eventually got enough ropes on him, and kind of had him wrapped around the boat, and until we knew we had him secured enough, and then we released his head and started towing him backwards. And it sounds horrific, but that's fishing. And back then, it was like people were still under the fear of Jaws, and more people were happy than disgruntled about catching a fish like that. And we wound up catching that fish. Nobody had any idea how big it was. How do you estimate the weight of a fish that's 17 and a half foot long? You know, so I was like, well, I gotta be 2,000 pounds. Well, by the time we came in and tried weighing them, and that was a procedure, and it wound up being 3,427 pounds. And that pretty much, that's the end of that story.